The legislative branch. The legislative branch is the part of the U.S. government that makes the laws. It is created by Article 1 of the Constitution and is called Congress. Congress has two parts, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Together, they write and pass laws, declare war, approve many of the president's appointments, and investigate issues in the government. The House of Representatives has 435 voting members. The number of representatives each state gets depends on its population. Members are elected every 2 years and must be at least 25 years old, have been U.S. citizens for 7 years, and live in the state they represent. The House is led by the Speaker of the House, who is third in line to become president. The House has special powers, including starting tax bills and impeaching, formally charging, federal officials. The Senate has 100 members, with 2 senators from each state. Senators serve 6-year terms, and about 1/3 are elected every 2 years. They must be at least 30 years old and U.S. citizens for 9 years. The Vice President of the United States serves as President of the Senate and can cast a tie-breaking vote. The Senate confirms presidential appointments, approves treaties, and holds trials for impeached officials. For a bill, a proposed law, to become law, it must pass both the House and the Senate in the same form. If the 2 chambers pass different versions, they work together to create a final version. The bill then goes to the President, who can sign it into law or veto it. If vetoed, Congress can still make it law with a 2/3 vote in both chambers. Congress also has the power to collect taxes, create a national budget, borrow money, and decide how federal money is spent. It can hold hearings and investigations to oversee the executive branch and make sure laws are being properly carried out. The legislative branch represents the people and the states, makes the nation's laws, controls government spending, and checks the power of the president. The executive branch. The executive branch is the part of the U.S. government that carries out and enforces the laws. It is led by the President of the United States, who is also the country's head of state and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The President makes sure the laws passed by Congress are put into action. To help do this, the President chooses leaders to run federal departments and agencies. Altogether, the executive branch employs more than 4 million people, including members of the military. The Vice President is part of the executive branch too. The Vice President's most important job is to be ready to take over as President if the President dies, resigns, or cannot perform the job. The Vice President also serves as President of the Senate and can cast a deciding vote if there is a tie. The President is helped by the Executive Office of the President, EOP, which includes close advisors and officers that assist with budgeting, national security, trade, and communication. These teams help the President make decisions, speak to the public, and plan policies. The President also works with the Cabinet, a group made up of the heads of 15 major government departments. Each department focuses on a different part of national life. For example, the Department of Defense manages the military. The Department of State handles foreign relations. The Department of the Treasury manages government finances and taxes. The Department of Justice enforces federal laws. The Department of Health and Human Services protects public health. The Department of Education supports schools and student aid. The Department of Homeland Security protects the country from threats and responds to disasters. The Department of Veterans Affairs provides services to military veterans. Other departments focus on transportation, labor, agriculture, energy, housing, the environment, commerce, and caring for public lands. The President can sign bills into law or veto them, make treaties with other countries, with Senate approval, appoint judges and ambassadors, and grant pardons for federal crimes. Presidents serve 4-year terms and can serve no more than 2 terms. Together, the President, Vice President, Cabinet, and federal agencies make up the executive branch, which is responsible for running the daily operations of the United States government. The judicial branch. The judicial branch is the part of the U.S. government that explains and applies the law. It is created by Article 3 of the Constitution. Its main job is to make sure laws are followed fairly and that people's rights are protected. Unlike members of Congress or the President, federal judges are not elected. They are appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate. Once appointed, federal judges serve for life unless they resign, retire, or are removed through impeachment. This lifetime service helps them make decisions based on the law rather than politics. The highest court in the country is the Supreme Court of the United States. It is the only court specifically mentioned in the Constitution. Today, it has 9 justices, 1 Chief Justice, and 8 Associate Justices. The Supreme Court mostly reviews cases that have already been decided in lower courts. Its decisions are final and must be followed by all other courts. Below the Supreme Court are the U.S. Courts of Appeals, 13 total, which review decisions made by lower courts, and the U.S. District Courts, where most federal trials take place. The courts can decide whether a law follows the Constitution. This power is called judicial review. If a law violates the Constitution, the courts can declare it unconstitutional. The Constitution also protects people accused of crimes. Everyone has the right to a fair and speedy trial, an impartial jury, a lawyer, remain silent to avoid self-incrimination, protection from double jeopardy, being tried twice for the same crime, protection from cruel and unusual punishment. There are 2 main types of cases: criminal cases, where the government charges someone with breaking the law, and civil cases, which are disputes between people or organizations. After a trial, a case can be appealed to a higher court if someone believes a legal mistake was made. However, the Supreme Court chooses only a small number of cases to review each year. The judicial branch makes sure laws are interpreted correctly, protects constitutional rights, and ensures justice is applied fairly across the country.